Well, as parents, you want to raise confident children, and we've got an article to talk about with Father David Ross about the secret to raising confident children, and it seems to be it's quality time. So let's talk about this article.
Well, you know, I'm always intrigued by a lot of the articles I'll read in the journal, or for that matter, any newspaper, but this one intrigued me because it's one that I don't necessarily agree with thoroughly. So the author is Darrell Austin, and he cites some psychologists who are indicating that one of the primary elements in terms of a child's self-esteem is for the parent to be able to spend time with the child. So there's a direct correlation between spending just a few minutes a day with your child and that child's self-esteem. I often say that there's a difference between self-worth, self-esteem, and self-confidence. Self-worth is just knowing that you're loved. And as a priest, I say loved by God and by your family and your friends. Self-esteem comes when we do that which is proper to us as humans, namely to think in the abstract. It's difficult to think in the abstract. At least it is for me, you know, when you get to be 76, everything's difficult anymore. But to think in the abstract. And then when you think in the abstract and you take your ideas and put them into action, you'll gain confidence. So oftentimes people don't see the distinction between among those things there, but I do personally. So this gentleman here who has written the article indicates that there's a direct correlation between a parent spending a little bit of time with the kids and the child's self-esteem. And in addition, the author will say that when a parent spends time with the child, it reduces the possibility of the child to getting into some nefarious activities or being belligerent or things of that nature. Right. Now, here's the issue that I have.
Yeah, what do you have? Because I want to know. Well,
you know, I grew up in a great era. I was born in '49. It was a wonderful time, and I'm one of those baby boomers. My dad didn't have time to be at home. My dad went to work at the post office in the morning, 6:30, came home, then worked pumping gas, worked at a gas station till late in the evening. And I'm thinking, Mom was there, of course, but my dad couldn't do that. And I'd like to think that I turned out halfway decent, you know, halfway decent, you know. I only have a few quirks, but...
I don't think it means, though, just the dad. I think the quality time you have with your mom is what helps out.
Sure. But,
you know?
But my mother, she also worked at the hospital. She ran the floor of the Memorial Hospital. So, in other words, I don't want to lay this guilt trip on parents saying, if you're not spending some time with your kids, they're going to grow up to be terrible people or something like that.
I agree with you. That doesn't mean that. But I do think what he said, like 10 to 15 minutes, and he said it's quality time, not necessarily quantity.
Exactly.
Where you have to, like, be interested in what your kid is interested in and want to know about that instead of what you're interested in, you know, kind of take interest in your kid, which I think that would be helpful.
Our quality time in my family, maybe in yours as well, and with a lot of people in my generation, was when we sat down together at supper and ate supper together. We talked about things. My father would, when I was a young child, he'd whistle out the back door, and you had 5 minutes to get home, wash your hand, we'd sit down, he'd say the word prayers, and we'd pray before meals, and then we would start eating the meal, and we'd have conversations about all kinds of things.
Right.
You know, especially about one of my younger brothers. We'd have a conversation about his long hair during the Vietnam War, and it was incessant, and then we heard about that all the time. But I think there's merit to what the gentleman has to say.
Right, yeah.
There is merit.
I agree, though. You shouldn't feel guilty, because I also think if you're working and you're busy and you do spend a little bit of time, it shows them, like, you know, work ethic and other things, too, that, you know, which are helpful, too, and help raise a kid.
Maybe not be able to do it. You may not be able to do it every day as well.
Right, exactly,
you know? But maybe sometime during the week, from my perspective, sometime during the week is going to be beneficial for the kids.
Right, yeah. I agree that it doesn't make the kid bad, but, I mean, it will help, I think, every child if you get some good quality time with someone. Grandparent, family member, you know.
Exactly. Oftentimes I find that what parents may tend to do is buy their children a lot of things and say, that'll make up for my lack of being present with you. And that's not going to be helpful.
That's not a good one, okay.
So it's a good article other than my
very
criticism.
Interesting. You know? I wasn't expecting that twist from you, so I'm kind of excited that you did that.
Thank you. Wait till you see next month.
Okay. All right, thanks, Father, for coming. All right, don't go away. New Edition continues in a moment.